Let's go straight to Ryan Chilcote now. He's standing by at BP's headquarters here in London. And Ryan, what are we hearing about when a final announcement will be made on Hayward's future?
Well, we just heard from the company about half an hour ago, BP saying that no final decision has been made on management changes, and also confirming that there will be a board meeting this evening. That, as Tony Hayward is thought to be on his way out, Mr. Bob Dudley on his way in. We are discussing this with Andy Lynch from Schroder's. I should say you own the stock.
Yep.
What do you expect to happen to the share price as a result of this morning?
I reckon the share price will probably be up a couple of percent more than the market. Not a huge reaction, but for me, the biggest story is still that the leak in the Gulf of Mexico isn't finally fixed. They've got the cap on it, but we don't yet know whether it's going to be fully plugged, and if so, when.
But it's interesting you say that, because normally, obviously, when you get the announcement or widespread expectation of a new CEO coming in, you get a much larger rise than just a couple of percent. Particularly at a company like BP, you would expect something like that. But no, that's because the leak hasn't been solved. Yeah?
Because the leak hasn't been fixed yet, so that liability for BP is still uncertain. And obviously we've got results tomorrow, which I expect to be good, but that expectation is already in the market. So, as I say, I think we'll get a much bigger reaction when BP can turn around and say it's over. We've capped Macondo for good. It's behind us, and now we can look to the future.
And tell me about that. The stock's down 39% from its peak of April 20th, just before the spill,
yeah.
Right? How much would the shares rise, percentage-wise, when they finally cap the well?
I reckon that's probably good for a 8, 9, 10% kind of day, because then investors can say, right, okay, at least the liability isn't increasing anymore. We know the number of barrels of oil that have been spilled, and now it's just a matter of totting up the damage to the environment, to the livelihoods of people on the Gulf Coast. But at least now we're in a game of addition rather than a game of multiplication.
If you're telling me there's 2% above the market in the announcement, what we've already heard today, tomorrow, 9% for when the well is finally resolved, the leak is finally resolved. There's 11% there. Are you suggesting people buy the stock?
I'm cautious, so I'm still staying away for my fund. Basically because
you don't want the 11%.
I'd love to have the 11%, but I'm more worried that we're in hurricane season in the Gulf. And so it's not yet clear that the well has finally been capped for good. If, heaven forbid, we get a big hurricane that goes through, that causes damage again on the seabed, the well starts leaking again, then the BP's liabilities start increasing and the share price starts falling again. So I want to wait until it's been sealed off for good, we know what the liabilities are, and then I think there's still going to be enough time to make a lot of money for investors when you've got that certainty, rather than taking the risk in hurricane season.
Would bringing Bob Dudley in as CEO appease the U.S. government?
It's not completely, no, but I think it's a good step. He's from the Gulf region, so he has empathy with the people down there. He understands the American people probably in a way that Bob Hayward didn't do. So it is a useful first step to taking some of the political heat off BP, but it's not going to be a get out of jail free card. Yeah. The costs are still going to be big, and the bills are still going to have to be paid.
And it's also interesting because, of course, analysts will tell you, is effectively, and we have just a bit of time for this, run out of Russia, where he was running TNK-BP, BP's joint venture there. So while he might placate the Americans, this could lead to issues in Russia, no?
It could do, but I think the Russian problem was genuinely about business rather than about personality. So I don't think the Russians had a problem with Bob Dudley. It was just they wanted control of TNK-BP.
Just
that's been solved.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Andy Lynch from Schroder's. Schroder's owns the stock.